When I walked out of that office, I took something far more valuable than their stapler. I took their entire past. It wasn't about the stapler, of course. It was about the years I'd poured into that company, building their digital infrastructure from scratch, only to be cast aside like an old, outdated server. But they forgot one crucial detail. I still held all the keys. Let me take you back. When I first joined Innovatech Solutions, it was just 3 guys in a rented office with a dream and a dial-up connection. I was the 4th guy, the tech wizard they brought in to make the magic happen, and I did. I built their first website on a shoestring budget. I set up their internal network, their email servers, their cloud storage, everything. I was the digital architect of their entire operation. For 10 years, I was the one they called at 3 a.m. when a server crashed or a critical file went missing. I was the keeper of their history, their data, their secrets. I wasn't just an employee, I was the foundation. But companies change. Innovatech grew, and with growth came new management. Suits who didn't know a server rack from a coat rack. They saw me as a cost, not an asset. They brought in a slick, outside consulting firm that promised to optimize and streamline our IT operations. Their big recommendation: outsource the department and let go of the legacy staff. Legacy, that's what they called me. 10 years of loyalty, and I was just legacy. The day they called me into HR, I knew. The VP, a guy named Marcus I'd met twice, couldn't even look me in the eye. He mumbled something about restructuring in new directions. They offered me a pathetic severance package and told me to clear out my desk by the end of the day. They had an escort wait for me, as if I was going to steal office supplies. The sheer disrespect was staggering. As I packed my box, a thought sparked in my mind. A cold, clear, and perfectly logical thought. They wanted to erase me. Fine, I would erase them first. They made a catastrophic mistake. In their haste to get rid of me, they forgot to immediately revoke my top-level administrative access. The optimization consultants hadn't fully migrated everything to their new system yet. All the old infrastructure, the core servers, the master backups, they were all still under my control. My credentials were the skeleton keys to the entire kingdom. I went home. I didn't storm out or make a scene. I walked out calmly, smiled at the security guard, and drove home. That night, I sat down at my personal command center, my custom-built PC in my basement. It felt like a scene from a movie. I logged in, access granted. It was all still there. The master credentials, the root access to every server, every database, every cloud instance. They had literally left the front door wide open and handed me the keys on my way out. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. This wasn't just angry clicking, this was surgical. I started with the off-site backups, the ones they stored for disaster recovery. I logged into the remote server farm. It was a complex system I had designed myself, with multiple layers of redundancy. But I had built the doors, and I knew where all the locks were. One by one, I wrote a simple script. It wasn't a sledgehammer. It was a whisper. The script identified the backup files and began the process of secure deletion, overwriting the data with random noise, not once, but 7 times. It would be impossible to recover. I initiated the script and watched the progress bar. Their safety net was vanishing into a void of meaningless ones and zeros. Next, the internal servers. This was the heart of the company. Their client records, their financial history, their project archives. 10 years of intellectual property. All of it. I accessed the main database. I could have just hit delete, but that would have been too obvious, too quick. Instead, I initiated a data sanitization protocol. It's a process normally used when decommissioning old hard drives to ensure no data can be recovered. It's slow, methodical, and irreversible. It looks like a routine maintenance task to any low-level monitoring system, but I knew what it was doing. It was meticulously wiping every byte of their history clean. I set it to run, a digital time bomb that would finish its work over the next few hours. Then, the website and their public-facing presence. I didn't take it down. That would be too crude. Instead, I accessed the content management system. I replaced every project portfolio, every About Us page, every client testimonial with a single, repeating line of text. It was a line from a poem about the impermanence of empires. Look at my works, the mighty, and despair. It was poetic, in a way. Their digital monument, built over a decade, was now a tribute to its own demise. Finally, the masterstroke. Their new optimized cloud system. The consultants had been migrating data, but the process wasn't complete. I still had the admin credentials for the migration tool. I logged in and didn't delete the data they had moved. Instead, I corrupted the migration logs in the file index. To their new system, it would look like the data never existed in the first place. There would be no error messages, no file not found prompts. There would just be nothing, an empty space where their company's memory should have been. I closed my laptop. It was done. The whole operation took less than 3 hours. I felt a strange sense of calm. It wasn't about revenge, not really. It was about balance. They tried to declare my work, my career, as irrelevant. I simply made their entire company's history just as irrelevant. The next morning, I didn't check my phone. I didn't read the news. I went for a long walk. But I can imagine the chaos. The first person to log in and find the website. The calls to the help desk. The mounting panic as they realize the client database is gone. The gut-wrenching moment they check the backups and find nothing but digital static. They would call the consultants, who would be baffled. They would look at the logs and see what appeared to be routine maintenance protocols and corrupted indexes. They wouldn't see a hacker. They'd see a ghost, a digital poltergeist. They would never be able to prove it was me. I used encrypted tunnels and anonymized access points. My digital footprints were ghosts in the machine. They tried to fire a ghost, and in return I made their company a ghost town. They lost everything: contracts, financials, client data, all of it. They couldn't bill their clients because they didn't know who owed them what. They couldn't prove their track record to new customers. They were back to where they started 10 years ago, a company with a dream, but this time, with no history and no foundation. Last I heard, Innovatech Solutions was being investigated for catastrophic data loss and was on the brink of collapse. Do I regret it? Sometimes I think about the innocent people who might have been affected, but then I remember Marcus's smug face. I remember being called legacy, and I remember that they made their choice. They chose to believe that people are disposable. They learned the hard way that when you discard the person who built your world, you risk having that world crumble to dust. I didn't take their future. I just reminded them that they can't have one without respecting their past. Thanks for listening to my story. It's a wild one, I know. If you enjoyed this, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know in the comments what you would have done in my situation. Stay safe, and always know your worth. See you in the next one.